What is up, my ducks and drakes? Welcome to the Karate Lake, and today we're continuing with chapters 3 and 4 of Misunderstanding, a Senior Sides fanfic by ElliottGreen333 on Wattpad. Any and all trigger warnings will be in the description below for your convenience if you would like to go check those out. And with that, we're going to be going on to part 3, Roman. If you'd like to follow along with the book, the link to the book and the author will be in the description below. Be sure to support them. Virgil dished me up some hot chocolate chip pancakes just as Logan went to leave. He brought over a jug of orange juice and enough glasses for himself, Patton, and I. Thank you, Virgil. This was really a pleasant surprise, I said. The emo just shrugged, returning to the kitchen before cleaning up and eating his meal himself. Patton, however, wasted no time. He sat down next to me with a plate full of 3 chocolate chip pancakes. He poured himself some orange juice before handing the jug over to me. I agree with Roman, kiddo. You could have waited for me to cook. Yeah, but I was hungry. Figured I'd just solve the problem myself. Virgil replied. Patton laughed and began eating. I couldn't help but not be able to tear my eyes away from Patton's adorable face. For the longest time, I've had a crush on the fatherly figure. I don't know what it is about him. The first few videos in Thomas's YouTube career is when I first started to notice those feelings. Before that, we had only really spoken when it came to Thomas's well-being, but now, we're all like a family. You did really well yesterday, Patton, I complimented. Aw, thank you, kiddo. You did too. I was laughing for hours after we filmed. You were so funny, he said. I blushed a little, covering it up. I'm drinking my orange juice. It was now that Virgil just finished cleaning up the kitchen. Patton had devoured his pancakes and was placing his plate in the sink. Thanks again for breakfast, kiddo. If anyone needs me, I'm going to check on Thomas for a little while. With that, Patton sunk into the ground. I waved, but I don't think he saw me. Virgil came over and sat where Patton had. He had 2 pancakes on his plate and a shit-eating grin on his lips. What? I asked, drinking my orange juice. You like him, don't you? I coughed on my drink, causing Virgil to laugh out of spite. I wiped my chin, waiting for him to calm down before responding. I don't know what you're talking about. Patton is just nice and friendly, and I like having him around. I pouted, thinking about how he made my cheeks go red. Virgil just hummed in amusement, taking a bite out of his food. Logan came back downstairs. When he saw only us at the table, he looked around. Where's Patton? With Thomas. Why? Virgil responded. Logan nodded, coming over to take a seat at this table. I saw Deceit exiting Patton's room. Virgil choked on his pancake while I started to glare at the logical side in shock. Virgil spit out of his pancake, giving Logan the same expression I had. Deceit? We both repeated. Yes, I don't know what he was doing in there, but he didn't seem like he saw me. I exited out of the back door, and I haven't seen him since. What the hell is that bastard doing slithering around our place? Without us even knowing, too, Virgil said, obviously slightly paranoid. No clue. I'm thinking he put something in his room, Logan theorized. Virgil nodded, thinking it over. I think both Logan and I were hoping that Virgil would know what was going on. After all, he was a dark side for most of his life. If anyone knows Deceit, he does. Maybe he's planning to kidnap him and replace his identity again, and he put some sort of knockout chemical in the vents of the 8C so it kicks in when Patton goes to sleep. Then, once he's asleep, Deceit will sneak in, take him, replace his identity, and then we wouldn't even know. Virgil began to panic, slipping into his tempest tongue. I was perhaps thinking that Patton has something Deceit wants. He has a ton of old pictures and memorabilia from Thomas' past 30 years on Earth. Maybe one of those things has particular value to him, and he wanted to get it for himself. Logan's suggestion. Maybe, or, I suggest, trying to calm them both down, we all go, look in his room, see if we could stop some potential kidnapping or attempt of theft. The two looked at each other. Virgil took a deep breath, nodding his head. Let's go. We stood from our seats, climbing up the stairs. I was preparing for the worst, so I summoned my sword. With Virgil and Logan behind me, we carefully walked up to Patton's light blue door. It didn't appear damaged or tampered with. Deceit had simply walked through the door. No matter the fact, I kicked in the door. Once inside, his room didn't look much different than when we first saw it. There were a few new photos from more Thomas's old junk on the floor, but other than that, nothing. Virgil bent down to look at the vents, making sure there was no chemicals that could harm the fatherly figure in any way. Logan was also looking through all Patton's organized chaos for something that might be of value to Deceit. I, for one, was looking for answers. Why would Deceit be in here? Did Patton know he was in here? And if so, why? Was there something I wasn't understanding? Am I not doing a good job of protecting him? Is he even in any danger? What is Deceit doing with Patton? Roman, Virgil said sternly. I blinked a few times, mentally re-entering the room. We found something. Maybe Logan was wrong, and it was just one of Deceit's twisted jokes. No, we can't just give up. This is Deceit we're talking about. If he's up to something, we have to stop it. You, of all people, should get behind that. I yelled. And he does. Logan butted in. We've taken this too far as it is. This was Patton's private room, and we just stormed around for nothing. Logan sighed, guiding Virgil out of the room. Just drop it, Roman. We can ask Patton later, if this becomes a more serious issue. Now, it was only me in Patton's room. Me. In my crush's room. I try not to think about it. All I know is that Deceit was up to something. And from what I know about the snaky man, he isn't the nicest guy. Why else would he be in Patton's room? It wasn't making sense in my head. As I walked out of the room, I saw the back door. The idea crossed my mind. Why don't I just go find out for myself? I faced the door to the imagination, putting my sword back in my holster. I walked through the door. Part 4. Deceit. I was walking back to my room after a long night in with Patton. He is so adorable. I wish we didn't have to keep our relationship a secret from the others. Unfortunately, we must. We're too afraid of what they do to us, not to mention what Thomas would say. It's scary to even think about it. Shaking the thought from my head, I entered the house of the dark sides. The door was unlocked. Remus and I leave it unlocked, as no one else comes back here. It was a little run down, but it felt like home. The layout was that of Thomas's apartment, with her own personal touches. We had black carpeting, a dark gray kitchen, and a Gothic-style art pieces on the wall. It wasn't much, but it was our home sweet home. I really want to bring Patton back here someday. I'm afraid of the effects it might have on his morality aura. The last thing I want to do is corrupt him. I went into the kitchen, getting ready to make myself some eggs. I was starving. I hadn't eaten since after filming yesterday. I grabbed all the things I needed, the bowl, the whisk, the eggs, and a little seasoning. Turning on the stove, I placed the pan over top of the burner and began to cook. The house was quiet. Odd. Remus must not be home. I kept to myself quietly humming a song that Patton got stuck in my head. That's when I heard a knock on the front door. I found it rather odd that someone knocked. If it was Remus, then wouldn't he have just burst right in? So, if it isn't Remus, who is visiting me all the way out here? I turned off the burner and answered the door. Of course, once I did, I saw a sword pointed at my face. Deceit! Roman purred. I raised my hands weakly in surrender. Of course it's the prince. He took a few steps forwards, making me take a few steps back. I hit the kitchen's wall with my back. I was pinned. So interesting to see you here. I would say the same for you, but this is also my house. I pointed out. He kept his sword drawn. I found it unamusing. His attempt to be intimidating. What do you want? Nice try, Snake. You know why I'm here, he responded. I slowly laughed, shaking my little head. I really don't know why you're here, Roman. Why don't you explain it to me? Or is that too hard for your feeble brain to comprehend? The prince growled, making me laugh again. I snapped my fingers, teleporting me from in front of the sword to behind him. I don't have time for any of your sick games, Roman announced. He whipped around, pushing the sword in my face again. I simply lowered the tip of the weapon with my hand, going back into the kitchen, leaning on the countertop. I'm not trying to play any games, I said. You just make it too easy when you don't answer my questions. So I'll ask again. What do you want? Logan saw you leaving Patton's room, and I want to know why. I could feel my face heat up, my cocky expression hitting the floor. Roman smirked, thinking he had won. I don't know what you're talking about, I hissed, flicking my tongue. Only Patton knew that that's what I did when I lied. So, to anyone else, I'm just being what I am, a snake. Don't pretend you're innocent. You did something in Patton's room. I don't know if you tampered with it or stole something. Either way, you have no right to be near Patton, he yelled. I smiled, growing an idea. What makes you so protective of him, then? Did you promise to Patton that you'd protect him? Or was that more a promise to yourself? A weak attempt to be noticed by the one you idolize more than yourself? I mocked. He lowered his sword, letting my words sink in. I understand your thought process, Roman. Just wanting to be seen as greater? Just wanting to prove yourself as worthy to someone you care about? Don't you think that's what I'm trying to do with Thomas? But, I still get laughed at, yelled at, and scolded. You're changing the subject, he screamed. He threw his sword at me. It snagged onto my cape and shot into the wall, locking me in place. I don't know what mind games you're trying to play with me, but they won't work. He slammed his hands on the counter. Why were you in Patton's room? Why do you care? I shouted back. Suddenly, he went red, every inch of his face coated in red, hot embarrassment. Oh. You got it for him. You got it for him badly now, don't you? Shut up! It doesn't matter. Don't deny your feelings, Ro. You know how Patton feels about repression. Nothing good comes from it. I smirked, crossing my arms. How do you know that? He turned and asked. My face flared up a little. I couldn't give it away. If he finds out Patton and I are dating, I'm screwed. Just face it, Roman. You have no chance with the fatherly puffball. You're not enough for him. You're way out of his league. In everything you lack, he rises above. You're too stuck in your own little world to realize that. You see yourself at the top of your castle, but in order to get to Patton, you have to jump off it. Enough! He shouted. He grabbed his sword from the wall, making it disappear. I chuckled, seeing that I won. Had enough? I just don't understand. Why the hell do you care about Patton anyway? Suddenly, I could see it. I could see the light bulb go off in his head. You're dating, aren't you? What? No. You. I faked, my tongue flicking out at him. I could tell he wasn't buying my lie. You are. Oh my god, it totally makes sense. That's why he hasn't been spending as much time with us. He's been busy pleasuring you, you sick freak. My face shifted. I was growing slightly fearful and enraged. Once I tell the others, I'll make sure you're never in our side of the Mind Palace again. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to continue with the story, be sure to subscribe so you could get an episode next week. All my socials are in the description below, such as TikTok, where I do Sanderside's cosplays, Discord, where you can talk to other Ducks and Drakes, Instagram, Twitter, Wattpad, all of that fun and jazz. A link to my Etsy shop where you can buy cool beaded things, and links to my second channel where I go live. Thank you for watching, and much like Deceit, try to convince Roman that he's lying. Do your best.